My friend, I want to speak with you today about a subject that is often shrouded in shame, hidden in the shadows of the mind, and carried like a heavy, invisible chain. I am speaking of the burden of debt. I am speaking of that silent anxiety that wakes you in the middle of the night, that tightens your chest when the first of the month approaches, and that whispers to you that, no matter how hard you run, you are always falling a few steps behind. You may be thinking that you have tuned in to hear about economics. You may be expecting a lecture on budgeting, on interest rates, or on how to consolidate your loans. While those things have their place in the relative world, they are not the root of the matter. If you are tired of merely trimming the branches of this problem and are finally ready to pull it out by the roots, you must be willing to look where very few people are willing to look. You must be willing to look within. In the next few minutes, and I ask you to give this your full and undivided attention, we are going to dismantle the illusion of lack. We are going to take the situation you call debt, and we are going to place it under the searchlight of truth. What you are about to discover is a way of approaching your life that is completely different from the methods of the world. The world tells you to fear debt. The world tells you to fight debt. But I tell you that you cannot fight a shadow. You can only turn on the light. If you are resolute, if you are truly determined to walk out of the prison of financial limitation and into the glorious liberty of the children of God, then you must first understand how you got into that prison. And the answer will surprise you. You did not get there because of the economy. You did not get there because of a lost job, a bad investment, or an unexpected illness. Those were the occasions, yes, they were the outer triggers. But they were not the cause. So, settle yourself. Put aside the distractions of the day. We are about to embark on a journey of understanding. This is part one of our work together. In this session, we are going to diagnose the condition. We are going to find the mental cause. In later sessions, we will apply the remedy. But you cannot apply the cure until you understand the disease. Let us begin. The first and most difficult hurdle you must overcome is the evidence of your own senses. You look at your bank account and you see a zero, or perhaps a negative number. You look at the pile of bills on your table, and they seem solid. They seem undeniable. They scream at you with a reality that feels harder than rock. And so, the natural human tendency is to say, "This is my reality. I am in debt. I am poor. I am struggling." But this is the great illusion. Emmet Fox taught, and the great metaphysical teachers of the ages have always agreed, that the outer world is nothing more than a mirror. It is a reflection. It has no power of its own to act. It has no power to create. It is merely the screen upon which your inner convictions are projected. Imagine, if you will, a cinema projector. The film in the machine represents your thoughts, your deep-seated beliefs, and your subconscious patterns. The screen at the front of the theater represents your life, your job, your bank account, your debts, your assets. Now, if there is a scene in the movie that you dislike, perhaps a scene of tragedy, of poverty, of struggle, would you run up to the screen and try to scrub the image off with a brush? Would you scream at the screen? Would you try to patch the screen with tape? Of course not. You know that would be futile. To change the picture, you must change the film. Yet, this is exactly what 99% of the human race is doing with their finances. They are fighting the screen. They are manipulating the outer conditions. They get a second job. They borrow from one card to pay another. They cut expenses until they are living in misery. They worry. They fret. They struggle. They are scrubbing the screen, hoping the picture will change. And sometimes, by sheer force of will, they manage to change it for a moment. But because the film, the inner consciousness, has not changed, the projector simply projects the same pattern of lack onto a new screen. A year later, they are in debt again. You must accept this fundamental proposition if you wish to be free. Debt is a state of mind. It is a spiritual condition before it is a material condition. The checkbook is merely the thermometer. It registers the temperature of your consciousness, but it does not create the weather. You are the weather maker. There is a law in the universe, as precise and unfailing as the law of gravity or the laws of chemistry. We call it the law of the mental equivalent. This law states that you can only possess in the outer world that for which you have the equivalent in your inner world. If you have the mental equivalent of abundance, money will come to you. If you lose it, it will come back. If you give it away, it will return multiplied. Why? Because the mold, or the pattern, of wealth exists in your subconscious mind. Conversely, if you have the mental equivalent of debt, of struggle, or of just barely getting by, then it matters not how much money you win in a lottery or how much you inherit. You will eventually lose it. You will find a way to return to the level of your mental equivalent. We see this time and again with people who come into sudden wealth only to be destitute a few years later. Why? Because they had the money, but they did not have the consciousness of wealth. They had the mental equivalent of poverty, and the outer world had to adjust to match the inner belief. Now, this may sound harsh. It may seem as though I am blaming you for your misfortunes. I am not blaming you. I am handing you the key to your liberation. If the cause were outside of you, if it were the government, the tax system, or your upbringing, you would be helpless. You would have to wait for the world to change before you could be free. And we know the world is slow to change. But because the cause is within you, you are the master. You have dominion. You can change the mental equivalent. You can dismantle the structure of debt in your mind. And when you do, I promise you by the living God, the outer structure of debt must crumble. It has no choice. It has no life to sustain it once you withdraw your mental support. To understand how this works, you must understand the nature of your own mind. You have a conscious mind, the part of you that thinks, chooses, and reasons. And you have a subconscious mind, the deep, vast, silent ocean of power that runs your life. The subconscious mind is a faithful servant. It does not reason. It does not argue. It does not have a sense of humor. It simply takes the orders you give it and manifests them. And how do you give it orders? You give it orders through your feelings, your beliefs, and your habitual thoughts. Every time you say, I can't afford that, you are giving an order. The subconscious says, very well, sir. You cannot afford it. I will see to it that you do not have the means. Every time you look at a bill and feel a knot of fear in your stomach, you are impressing the subconscious with the image of debt. The subconscious says, I receive the image of debt. I will produce more of it. Every time you resent a rich person, thinking they are greedy or evil, you are telling your subconscious, wealth is evil. And since your subconscious wants to protect you from being evil, it will ensure you never become wealthy. Do you see the trap? You have been unknowingly programming your own computer with a virus of poverty. You have been hypnotizing yourself into limitation. Most of us were taught these ideas from childhood. We heard phrases like, money doesn't grow on trees. Filthy lucre. We are poor but honest. These seeds were planted in the fertile soil of your young mind, and they have grown into a forest of lack that now surrounds you. But the beautiful truth of scientific Christianity is this: you can reprogram the mind. You can pluck up the weeds. You can plant wheat where there were once tares. Let us talk about the specific emotion that keeps the debt cycle alive. Fear. When you are in debt, you are afraid. It is a primal fear. It is the fear of not surviving, the fear of humiliation, the fear of the future. And what does fear do? Metaphysically, fear is simply faith in reverse. Faith is the expectation of good. Fear is the expectation of evil. When you worry, you are actually praying for the thing you do not want. Think about that for a moment. It is a terrifying realization, but a necessary one. Worry is a vivid, emotional visualization of something going wrong. You sit in your chair and you imagine the bank calling. You imagine the eviction notice. You imagine the embarrassment of being declined. You feel the emotions of it. You play the scene over and over in the theater of your mind. You are giving the law of mind a blueprint, and you are saying, create this. And the law, being impersonal and automatic, sets about creating the very condition you dread. As Job said in the Scriptures, the thing which I greatly feared is come upon me. This is why Jesus, the greatest metaphysician who ever lived, warned us so repeatedly against fear. Take no thought for your life, he said. Fear not, little flock. This was not just a comforting sentiment, it was a scientific instruction. He knew that fear freezes the channels of supply. He knew that fear contracts the mind, blinds you to opportunity, and repels the substance of the universe. When you are in a state of anxiety about money, you are vibrating at the frequency of not enough. You are broadcasting a signal to the universe that says, I am lacking. And the universe, which is a giant mirror, reflects that signal back to you in the form of more bills, unexpected expenses, and closed doors. To get out of debt, you must stop worshiping the debt. Yes, you are worshiping it. Whatever you give your dominant attention to, you are worshiping. If you think about your debt all day, talk about it with your spouse, worry about it before sleep, and wake up thinking about it, you are making the debt your God. You are giving it all your power. You are making it an idol, a graven image of limitation, and you are bowing down to it. You must stop. You must take your attention off the problem and place it on the answer. And the answer is the infinite supply of spirit. Here we come to the crux of the matter. What is your source of supply? If I were to ask you, where does your money come from? You might answer, from my job, or from my business, or from my pension. But that is incorrect. Those are not sources, those are channels. There is only one source of supply in the universe, and that source is God, Spirit, the universal mind. Whatever name you choose to use, it is the infinite, invisible life force that created the worlds. God is your supply. Your job is merely one pipe through which the water flows. Your investments are another pipe, your clients are another. But if you confuse the pipe with the reservoir, you are in danger. Because pipes can clog, pipes can break, pipes can dry up. If you believe your job is your source and you lose your job, you are devastated because you think your source has been cut off. But if you know that God is your source, and God is infinite, eternal, and unchanging, then you do not fear the breaking of a pipe. You know that if one channel closes, the source will simply open another, perhaps a bigger and better one. The mistake of the person in debt is that they are looking to the material world for help. They are looking to the bank for a loan. They are looking to a boss for a raise. They are looking to the government for a check. They are looking there. Emmet Fox teaches us to look in here, to make contact with the source. When you realize that you are an outlet for divine energy, and that divine energy is always flowing, always abundant, always seeking expression, you relax. You realize that supply is a spiritual thing. Money is merely the symbol of God's love and care for you. It is the symbol of circulation. It is meant to flow. It is not meant to be hoarded, and it is not meant to be feared. Now, we must go deeper. We must look at the hidden psychological roots that may be anchoring you in debt. Beyond simple fear, there are often two other demons at work: guilt and unworthiness. Many people, particularly those raised in certain strict religious environments, have a deep-seated belief that poverty is holy and wealth is sinful. They may not say this consciously. They may say they want to be rich. But deep down, in the dark corners of the subconscious, there's a whisper that says, if I have too much, I am being greedy. If I have too much, I am not spiritual. It is easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle. These misunderstood texts have caused more poverty than any economic depression in history. If you believe that God wants you poor, or that there is some virtue in suffering, your subconscious mind will sabotage every attempt you make to succeed. You will make a bad decision at a critical moment. You will forget to pay a bill. You will get sick just when a big opportunity arises. This is the mental equivalent of guilt working to keep you holy, i.e. poor. You must clear this rubbish from your mind. God is life, and life is expansion. Look at nature. Look at the lavishness of a forest. Look at the abundance of the stars. Does God count the leaves on a tree and say, that's too many, we must save some for next year? No, nature is prodigal. Nature is abundant. Poverty is unnatural. Poverty is a disease of the mind. It is not a virtue, it is a limitation of the expression of God. You honor God by expressing His abundance. You do not honor God by being a beggar. You are the king's child. Do you think the king wants his children walking around in rags, terrified of the tax collector? No. That is an insult to the king. You must declare your innocence. You must accept that it is the Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. Until you feel that you deserve to be free of debt, you will not be free. Let us look at your daily conversation. What are you saying to yourself and others? The Bible says, "By thy words thou shalt be justified, and by thy words thou shalt be condemned." This is not a threat, it is a statement of law. Do you spend your time complaining about prices? Do you talk about how hard times are? Do you participate in the collective hysteria of the news? When you meet a friend, do you swap stories of misfortune? Oh, you think that's bad, let me tell you about my mortgage. When you do this, you are cementing the walls of your prison. You are using the creative power of the word to build more debt. You are decreeing lack. Emmet Fox called this negative prayer. Every time you complain, you are praying for things to stay bad. You must stop it. You must put a watch upon your lips. If you cannot say something that affirms God's abundance, say nothing. Silence is better than negative decrees. You must begin to speak the language of spirit. The language of spirit is, I have. The language of the world is, I want. When you say, I want, you are declaring, I do not have, and the universe gives you more wanting. You must reach the place in consciousness where you can say, I have, even when the pocket is empty. That is the mystery of faith. That is calling things that are not as though they were. There is a vivid image in the scriptures about the man who earns wages only to put them into a bag with holes. This is the perfect description of debt. You work, you earn, but it leaks out. It goes to interest, to fees, to repairs, to medical bills. It never stays. This hole in the pocket is a hole in your consciousness. It is a leak in your integrity, your self-worth, or your sense of order. Order is the first law of heaven. Look at your financial life. Is it in order, or is it chaotic? Do you know exactly what you owe, or are you afraid to look? Many people in debt hide from the mail. They throw the envelopes in a drawer, unopened. This is denial, and denial creates chaos. You cannot demonstrate supply in a chaotic mind. God works through order. As difficult as it may be, one of the first steps in healing this mental condition is to face the facts without fear. You must look at the demon to rob it of its power. When you open the bill and look at it calmly, saying, God is bigger than this, you begin to sew up the hole in the pocket. But if you hide, if you lie, if you pretend, the hole grows larger. The mental equivalent of debt is often a mental equivalent of evasion. You are trying to evade responsibility, and so the universe evades you. Welcome back. If you are here, it means you have accepted the diagnosis we laid out in our previous session. You have accepted that the condition of debt in your life is not a cruel twist of fate, nor a punishment from on high, but a reflection of a mental state, a mental equivalent that you have inadvertently built. You have admitted that the cause is within. Now we move from the classroom to the laboratory. We move from the theory of electricity to the act of turning on the switch. In this session, part 2 of our series, we are going to undertake the specific spiritual work required to dismantle the structure of debt. We are going to engage in what Emmet Fox called a scientific spiritual treatment. I must warn you, do not approach this lightly. This is not a recitation of poetry. This is not a superstitious ritual where you repeat words hoping for a bit of luck. This is the deliberate application of a high spiritual law. Just as an engineer applies the laws of physics to build a bridge, we are about to apply the laws of mind to build a bridge over your financial abyss. If you are watching this while driving or while distracted, stop. Turn it off. Come back when you can be alone, undisturbed, and fully present. For the work we are about to do requires the shut door of your attention. Are you ready? Then let us begin the work of liberation. Before we speak the words, you must understand the mechanism. Why do we call it a treatment? Because we are treating a condition. If you were sick, you would treat the body. Your finances are sick, so we are treating the consciousness that governs them. The great error of traditional prayer, the reason so many prayers for money go unanswered, is that they are prayers of beseeching. The person kneels down, filled with terror, and cries out, "Oh God, please, I beg of you, send me money! I am desperate! I don't know what to do." Do you see what has happened there? In the very act of praying, that person has affirmed the reality of the lack. They have impressed upon their subconscious mind two things: that they do not have the money, see lack; that God is reluctant and must be persuaded, separation. This is fatal. The subconscious mind takes that emotional vibration of desperation and produces more desperation. As the scripture says, to him that hath shall be given, and to him that hath not, even that which he hath shall be taken away. Scientific prayer, the treatment, is the exact opposite. It does not beg God to change. God is already perfection. God is already abundance. The sun does not need to be begged to shine. You simply need to step out of the shadows. Therefore, our prayer today will be a prayer of appropriation. We are not going to ask God to create money for you. We are going to claim the supply that is already yours by divine right, but which has been blocked by your fear. We are going to use the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of truth. We are going to cut the ropes of fear that bind your supply. In the 2nd book of Kings, there is a story that is the perfect recipe for what we are about to do. A widow comes to the prophet Elisha. Her husband is dead, and the creditors are coming to take her sons as slaves. She is in debt. She is terrified. Elisha does not give her money. He asks her, "What hast thou in the house?" She says, "Thine handmaid has not anything in the house." Note that carefully. She thought she had nothing, but she had a pot of oil. In metaphysics, oil represents joy, or the Spirit of God within. She had the seed of God in her house. Elisha tells her, "Go, borrow thee vessels abroad of all thy neighbors, even empty vessels, borrow not a few. And when thou art come in, thou shalt shut the door upon thee and upon thy sons, and shalt pour out into all those vessels." She did so. She shut the door. And the oil poured and poured until every vessel was full. She sold the oil and paid the debt. What does shut the door mean? It means you must shut out the evidence of the senses. Right now, for the next few minutes, you must shut the door on the bills. Shut the door on the fear. Shut the door on the opinions of your family. Shut the door on the news. If you pray while looking at the bill, you are not praying. You are worrying in the presence of God. You must go into the secret place of the Most High. So, I invite you now to physically and mentally close your eyes. Take a deep breath. Drop your shoulders. Detach your mind from the problem. We are stepping out of the problem and into the solution. Every effective treatment consists of two movements, the denial and the affirmation. First, we must deny the lie. This is not ignoring the debt, it is stripping it of its power. We must look at the mountain and tell it to move. Repeat these words in your mind, or aloud if you are alone, with absolute conviction. Do not just say them, mean them. I deny that debt has any power over me. I deny that matter can dictate my happiness. I deny the belief that God is limited. I deny the appearance of lack. This debt is not a living thing. It has no intelligence. It has no will. It is a shadow cast by my own past thinking. And since I am now thinking a new thought, this shadow has no choice but to fade. I refuse to be afraid of a piece of paper. I refuse to be intimidated by a bank balance. These are things of the relative world, and I am a spiritual being living in a spiritual universe. I break the mesmerizing power of this condition right now. It has no hold on me. It is dissolving. It is nothing. It is a zero with the rim rubbed out. Feel the weight lifting. You are taking your power back. You are stopping the worship of the idol called debt. Now that we have cleared the weeds, we must plant the seed. We must affirm the truth. The truth is that God is your shepherd, and you shall not want. Shift your focus now from what you don't have to what God is. I affirm that God is infinite supply. God is the substance of the universe. This substance is everywhere present. It is in the air I breathe. It is in the ideas I think. It is in the energy of my body. I affirm that I am a child of this infinite substance. I am an heir to the kingdom. It is the Father's good pleasure to give me the kingdom. Not in the future, not when I die, but here. Now, today, I affirm that there is a divine solution to this situation. I do not need to know what the solution is yet. I only need to know that it exists. The mind that created the universe knows exactly how to clear this debt. It has the perfect way, the perfect timing, and the perfect means. I now align myself with that divine mind. Now, we are going to move into the deep, specific prayer. I want you to let these words sink into your subconscious. Let them wash over you. Claim them as your own. This is the pouring of the oil. Infinite Spirit, I stand before Thee now, naked of all pretense and stripped of all fear. I acknowledge that of myself I can do nothing, but Thy Spirit within me can do all things. I bring this situation regarding my finances into the light of Thy presence. I look at these debts, and I see them for what they are: temporary, malleable energy. They are not permanent. I speak the word of power to my bank account, to my creditors, and to my obligations. I declare divine order. I declare that the Spirit of truth is now moving through my financial affairs, straightening that which is crooked, and filling that which is empty. I hereby release all guilt associated with this money. I forgive myself for the mistakes of the past. I forgive my ignorance. I wash my hands of the shame. I am clean, and because I am clean, I am open to the flow of good. Lord, Thou art the great provider. Thou art the source that never runs dry. I claim now, under the law of grace, the immediate and complete supply to meet every obligation. I do not ask how. I do not ask when. I simply claim that it is done. I open my mind to new ideas. I open my eyes to new opportunities. I pull down the barriers of pride and fear. I am ready to receive. I call forth the money from the north, the south, the east, and the west. I command the substance of the universe to materialize in my life to pay these debts with honor and dignity. I declare that I am not a borrower, I am a lender. I am not a servant to money, I am a master of substance. My cup runneth over. There is enough and to spare. I bless my creditors. I bless the institutions to whom I owe. I bless the bills, for they represent trust that was placed in me. I thank thee that I have the integrity to pay, and I thank thee that thou providest the means. The blockage is removed. The dam has burst. The river of life is flooding my affairs with good. I breathe it in. I accept it. Do not rush away. Stay here for a moment. In this silence, try to catch the feeling of relief. Emmet Fox taught that the feeling is the bridge. If you can feel just for a second the sensation of that debt being paid, the lightness in your shoulders, the freedom to answer the phone without fear, if you can capture that feeling, you have made the demonstration. Imagine writing the final check. Imagine seeing the balance at zero. Imagine looking up at the sky and saying, "Thank you." Hold that feeling. That feeling is the mental equivalent. It is the mold into which the spiritual substance must pour. Now, we must drive the nail home. In the Bible, Jesus often said, "It is finished." He didn't say, "I hope it works." He stated it as a fact. You must now say with authority, "It is done. I have spoken the word, and the word does not return to me void. It accomplishes that whereunto it is sent. I release this problem to the God mind. I take my hands off the worry. I take my hands off the anxiety. The government is upon his shoulders. I go forth from this moment not as a person trying to get out of debt, but as a person who has accepted freedom. I am free. I am free. I am free. In the name of the indwelling Christ, Amen. Listen to me closely now. This is the most dangerous part of the process. You have just performed a spiritual surgery. You have set a new cause in motion. But the concrete is wet. The seed is fragile. What you do in the next 10 minutes and the next 10 hours will determine whether this treatment takes root or withers away. The temptation will be to open your eyes, look at your phone, see a bill, and immediately crash back down into fear. Oh, that was a nice prayer, but the reality is still here. No. If you do that, you have dug up the seed. You have canceled the order. You must engage in a strict mental diet immediately. For the rest of this day, you are forbidden, yes, spiritually forbidden, to dwell on the problem. If the thought of debt comes to your mind, you must slam the door on it instantly. You must say to that thought, "No, the Father is working on it. It is resolved. You may have to do this 50 times an hour. Do it. It is the price of freedom. Do not discuss your financial trouble with anyone today. Do not complain about prices. Do not vocalize lack. Keep the secret place secret. Power leaks through the tongue. Contain the energy. Let it build up steam in your subconscious until it moves the engine of your life. You have now done the work of the soul. You have aligned your mind with the infinite. The change has happened in the invisible realm. But there is one final law you must understand to keep this from ever happening again. It is the law that keeps the water flowing. It is the law of circulation. You may be thinking, how can I circulate anything when I have nothing? That is the trap. In the final part of this series, I will show you how to act in the outer world to anchor this prayer. I will show you the paradox of giving to receive. But for now, your job is simple: hold the mood of the answered prayer. Walk like a free person. Sleep like a rich person. In the first stage, we diagnosed the mental cause of your debt. We saw that the outer condition was merely a shadow cast by inner beliefs of limitation. In the second stage, we performed the spiritual surgery. We spoke the word. We treated the condition with the high potency of scientific prayer. We planted the seed of freedom in the fertile soil of the divine mind. Now, we face the most critical period of all. We face the interval. This is the time between the Amen and the manifestation. This is the time between planting the seed and seeing the green shoot break through the soil. And I must tell you, with all the seriousness of a teacher who has watched thousands navigate this path, this is where most people fail. They fail not because God did not hear them. They fail not because the law did not work. They fail because they could not hold their nerve during the silence. They dug up the seed to see if it was growing. They allowed the evidence of the senses to shout louder than the still small voice of truth. In this final session, I am going to give you the rules of the road for this waiting period. I am going to teach you the great law of circulation, which keeps the channels open. And I am going to show you exactly how to behave in your daily life, so that you do not block the blessing that is already rushing toward you. You must understand the nature of the time lag. In the realm of spirit, the work is already done. The moment you accepted the truth in our last session, the energy shifted. The supply was released. However, we live in a 3-dimensional world of time and space. Matter is dense. It takes time for the mental equivalent to clothe itself in material form. If you turn the wheel of a great ship, the rudder moves instantly, but the ship takes time to turn. If you panic because the ship hasn't turned yet, and you spin the wheel back the other way, you cancel the movement. You must walk through the next few days with the swagger of a captain who knows the ship is turning. You may go to the mailbox tomorrow and see another bill. You may check your account and see the same low balance. The uninstructed mind says, "That didn't work. I am still in debt." The metaphysical student says, "This is just the momentum of the old ship. The new course is set. I deny this appearance. It has no future. Do not judge by appearances. Appearances are simply past thoughts, solidified. They are dead things. Do not be frightened by dead things. Keep your eyes on the horizon of the new day." Now, we come to the active principle that you must practice, the law of circulation. Many people think that the way to get out of debt is to hoard. They think, I must hold on to every penny. I must not spend. I must stop the flow. Logic says this is correct. Spirit says this is fatal. Money is energy. In fact, we call it currency, from the word current. Like electricity, like water, like blood, it must flow to be healthy. If you stop the flow of blood in your body, you get congestion and death. If you stop the flow of money in your affairs through fear, you get financial congestion, which is exactly what debt is. Debt is a stopped-up pipe. To clear the pipe, you must get things moving. You must start the circulation. But, you ask, how can I circulate when I have nothing? That is the paradox. You do not circulate because you have because you circulate. I am not telling you to go out and spend money you do not have on luxuries. That is foolishness. I am telling you to circulate faith and goodwill through the medium of money, no matter how small the amount. Here is a practical rule: never pay a bill with resentment. Most people in debt hate their bills. They write the check or click send with a feeling of loss, a feeling of anger. There goes my money, these thieves. Every time you do that, you are impressing a negative command on your money. You are saying, go away and do not return, and the money obeys. You must change this. From today on, every time you pay for anything, whether it is a 1,000 mortgage payment or a $1 cup of coffee, you must bless the transaction. Say silently, I bless this money. It goes out to bless the world, to pay salaries, to feed families. And under the divine law of circulation, it returns to me multiplied, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. When you pay a bill, say, thank God I have this money to pay. It is proof of supply. This shift in attitude turns the act of spending from a depletion into an investment. It keeps the current moving. It tells your subconscious mind, there is plenty more where this came from. And the subconscious mind, obedient servant that it is, goes out to find the plenty more. There is another aspect of circulation called the vacuum law. It states nature abhors a vacuum. If you create a space, the universe must fill it. You cannot pour fresh wine into a cup that is already full of stagnant water. You cannot receive the new prosperity if your life is clogged with the old vibrations of lack. I am going to give you a very practical, very physical assignment. If you want to get out of debt, I want you to go home and clean your house. Clean out your closets. Clean out your drawers. Clean out your wallet. Or better yet, give away. Anything you no longer need, use, or love. Why? Because clutter is the physical manifestation of fear. Hoarding old clothes, just in case, is a statement of lack. It says, I don't trust that I can buy new ones. When you give away the old coat, you create a vacuum. You are saying to God, I trust you to clothe me. You are opening a space for the new. Many a demonstration of supply has been started simply by a person tidying up their desk. Order is the first law of heaven. If your financial papers are a mess, if your bills are crumpled in a drawer, you are blocking the flow. Get some folders. Organize your debts. List them clearly, not to worry about them, but to bring order to them. When you face them with order, you strip them of their mystery and terror. You are telling the universe, I am ready to manage more. We must touch upon a subject that makes many uncomfortable, but it is a scientific necessity: giving. You may call it tithing, sharing, or charity. The name does not matter. The principle is vital. If you are in debt, you are likely gripping your money with a closed fist. You are terrified to let go. But you cannot receive anything into a closed fist. You must open your hand. I challenge you to give something away today. It does not have to be a large sum. If you only have $10, give $1. If you have no money, give service. Give kindness. Give forgiveness. But giving money is the most powerful way to break the fear of debt because it attacks the fear directly. When you give away $1 when you can't afford it, you are performing a supreme act of defiance against the false god of lack. You are declaring, I am not a slave to fear. I am a channel of God's abundance. That act breaks the hypnotic spell. It releases a burst of spiritual energy. I knew a man in Chicago who was on the verge of bankruptcy. He had his last $10. He walked past a church and felt an urge to put it in the collection box.
Logic screamed, "You need that for food."
But he obeyed the urge. He gave the $10. He walked out of there with a sense of lightness and victory he hadn't felt in years. The fear was broken. The very next day, an old debt owed to him, one he had written off years ago, was repaid unexpectedly. It was enough to restart his business. He did not buy a miracle with $10. He broke the paralysis of his own mind, and the law responded. Now let us speak of action. There is a misunderstanding in some metaphysical circles that you just sit on the couch, visualize money, and it will float in through the window. This is nonsense. God works through you, not just for you. You are the hands and feet of the Almighty. The ideas for your deliverance will come through your mind, and the actions must be executed by your body. After you have prayed, and while you are holding the mental equivalent, you must be on the lookout for leads. A lead is a hunch, a sudden idea. Call this person. Apply for this job. Start this side project. Sell this asset. These hunches often seem quiet and unassuming. They don't scream, but they are persistent. When you get a lead, act on it. Do not analyze it to death. Do not say, "Oh, that's too simple." Naaman the Syrian almost missed his healing because the prophet told him to do a simple thing, wash in the river, and he wanted a grand, complex ceremony. Your way out of debt might start with a very small idea. Selling some old furniture, cutting a subscription, freelancing a skill you have. Do not despise the day of small beginnings. The ocean is made of drops. The fortune is made of pennies. Whatever your hand finds to do, do it with all your might. Do it with a spirit of excellence. If you are washing dishes, wash them as if you are washing the Holy Grail. Excellence attracts prosperity. Sloth attracts debt. I want to arm you against the inevitable bad days. You will have days where the fear returns. You will receive a threatening letter. A creditor will call and be rude. In that moment, the old man of fear will try to rise up. You must remember the story of Lot's wife. The angel led them out of the city of destruction, debt, and gave them one command: do not look back. Lot's wife looked back, and she turned into a pillar of salt. Salt stands for preservation. She was preserved in her past. She was frozen in the moment of looking back. When you replay your past mistakes, I shouldn't have bought that. I should have taken that job. You are looking back. You are turning into a pillar of salt. You are freezing yourself in the vibration of the mistake. Don't look back. The past is dead. It has no power to hurt you unless you give it your attention. When the creditor calls, be polite, be honest, state what you can do, but do not emotionally engage with the fear. Hang up the phone and immediately say, that is the old picture. God is writing a new picture. I return to the center of peace. If you fall, get up. If you worry for an hour, forgive yourself and stop worrying for the next hour. Success is not never falling. It is getting up one more time than you fall. So, here is your marching order. This is your routine for the law of circulation morning. Start the day with the affirmation of supply. God is my source. Today is a day of divine completion. During the day, watch your conversation. Do not join in poverty talk with friends. If they complain about the economy, stay silent or change the subject. Transactions bless every cent that leaves your hand. I circulate this with joy. It returns multiplied. Giving, find one way to give today. A tip, a coin, a compliment, a prayer. Keep the valve open. Evening, review the day. If you felt fear, forgive it. Go to sleep visualizing your bills marked, paid in full. See the zero balance. Feel the relief. My friends, debt is a severe teacher, but it is a teacher. It is teaching you that you cannot rely on the world of shadows. It is forcing you to find the rock of truth. If you follow these steps, if you clean your mind, treat the condition with prayer, and walk in the law of circulation, you cannot fail. It is not possible for the law to fail. The sun cannot decide not to rise. Gravity cannot decide to take a day off. And the law of mind cannot fail to produce the image you give it. You are going to come out of this. And when you do, you will be stronger, wiser, and more compassionate than before. You will not just be free of debt, you will be free of the fear of debt. and that is true wealth. Go now. The path is clear. The spirit is moving. You are the heir to the kingdom. Claim your heritage.